These are the 10 biggest mistakes that I see beginners making with their DJI Avata 2. Now this video could literally save you from losing your drone, as some of these mistakes do have fatal consequences. So if you're new around here, my name is Justin, it's great to meet you, and if you've been here before, it's great to see you again. So let's start off with the first one, which is thinking that your drone has magical signal properties. Now the Avata 2 has impressive signal performance, especially in FCC areas. Now CE users, maybe not so much, but let me get into the basics of just how the system kind of works. So basically the drone speaks to the goggles which are on your face, and in order to get the best line of communication, they need a clear line of sight. And that basically means nothing in between the goggles and the drone. Now, if you start introducing obstacles in between them, these obstacles are gonna sap, block, take away some of that signal performance. Now, things like trees and buildings will reduce your signal performance, but normally they don't kill it completely. Now, the main issue comes when you sort of fly behind a hill, a mountain, or around the edge of a cliff. This is the most common situation that I see people having issues and running into problems when it comes to signal performance. So you can actually have quite a lot of trees and buildings in between you and the drone before we start to get an issue. But if you fly behind a hill or a mountain, the signal is just going to cut straight away. And that's basically because the signal is trying to penetrate through like meters and meters of solid ground, and the signal is not magical, it cannot do that. So you have to be aware of this. So the best practice here is actually, as you're flying, is to try and create a sort of mental sort of image of where you're actually stood, so that when you're flying, you're constantly monitoring, or you're aware of where you're stood in relation to where the drone is, so that you don't then put the drone in a position where it's going to go behind a cliff or a hill or something relative to where you're stood. The most common instance that I see here is somebody will be basically flying along a coastline, and then they'll fly to the end, and then they'll fly round the edge of a cliff, and then they'll lose signal, and the drone's gonna have to go into its signal loss action, whether that's return to home or whatever you've previously set it to. But when they fly beyond that cliff, the signal gets lost. So basically, try and remember this as you're flying around. Try and always maintain, as good as you can, a clear line of sight between you and the drone. There are some instances where the signal can reflect off different things and still get to the drone, but for most people, especially in the beginning, just try and keep a clear line of sight between you and that drone. And also always be monitoring what's going on in the goggles. As a coconut just falls from a tree, it caught me a bit off guard there, but yeah, just keep monitoring what's going on in the goggles. And if the signal starts to get low, you're going to get an orange glow around the bottom of the screen. That's going to tell you that the signal is basically starting to get a bit lower than you would really like it to. And you also want to be monitoring in the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see a megabits per second. 60 is full, and you're going to see this number drop as you get lower and lower in signal strength. So if you've got that orange glow, you want to be trying to move the drone into a position where you're going to be recovering that signal. And if it doesn't, if it goes even further, you'll get a red glow. This basically means that your signal is getting extremely low, and you need to move the drone as soon as you can into a different location in order to recover that signal and avoid losing the signal. Now, signal loss is the biggest thing that I see beginners struggling with. They're just like, why is my drone lost signal? Be aware of the signal limitations, how it performs, and you'll have a better experience. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is going to be not having your return to home set correctly. Now, when I'm talking about this, I'm mainly talking about the return to home altitude when it comes to the Avata 2. We don't have advanced return to home options on this. We just have basic DJI return to home. So when you're doing a return to home, you basically need to make sure that your return to home altitude is set high enough so that the drone will ascend and clear any obstacles in between where it is and the home destination. Now, normally this is going to be a tall building or a tall tree, basically the tallest standing structure in the area that the drone could potentially collide with. Now, to keep things quick and easy, I basically always just say, set your return to home altitude to the maximum legal level that you're allowed to fly in whatever location you are. And that way the drone is basically going to ascend as high as it can legally and then make its way back home. It's going to give you the best chance of recovering the signal. Also, when the drone goes up high, it's going to be in clearer space. It's going to be easier for you to get signal to and from the drone, because if you're higher up, there are less obstacles that are going to be sapping that signal, which is what we just talked about. So that's the second one. Let's move on to number 3, which is going to be making sure that your signal loss action has been set correctly. Now, the signal loss action relates to basically what's going to happen when the drone loses signal, and there are different situations where you need to set this up differently. So basically, in most normal situations, you're going to want this set to return to home. So basically what that means is if the drone loses signal, it's going to stop. It's then actually going to retrace its steps for the last 50 meters. So it's going to fly 50 meters back along its previous flight path, and then it's going to ascend to the return to home altitude and make its way home. Now, this is perfectly fine in about 90% of situations. Basically, any situation where there's going to be no obstructions above the drone, return to home is going to be your preferred signal loss action. But there are some situations where you're going to be flying in an environment where there are going to be obstructions above the drone. So basically, if you look around me here, there's a load of palm trees. If I was in like an area where there was a lot of palm tree cover and I was flying through it, in this situation, I wouldn't want return to home, because if the drone stopped and then tried to ascend, the chances are it's going to hit a tree on its way up and crash before it makes its way back home. Now, a recent video that I saw, there was a guy who was flying along a riverbed, and the riverbed had some trees that were sort of bending over, covering the river, and he had his signal loss action set to return to home, but he flew really far along, the drone lost signal, tried to ascend, hit the trees, and then crashed potentially into the river. I don't think he actually found it, but I'm using that as an example because you might think that, oh, I'm not actually going to fly in a place where I need the signal to be set differently, but it might be the case. So if you're flying under tree cover, you're going to want to set your signal loss action to hover. Now, I recommend setting it to hover as opposed to setting it to land, because if you set it to hover, you can then start moving yourself closer to where the drone is. The drone is going to be flying, you'll be able to hear it, and things like that just going to make things easier. And while the drone is still in flight, it's going to be transmitting full power, that the video feed back to your goggles, where when the drone lands, it sort of goes into a lower power state and the transmission output power is reduced slightly. So if the drone lands, you might not pick up the goggles feed as quickly as if it was still hovering. So this is why if you're basically under tree cover and stuff, I recommend you set it to hover. Now, if you're flying indoors and you know it's going to be safe for the drone to just land if it was going to lose signal, then you can also set the signal loss action here to land. But out of the two, I generally prefer hover because I like to have that audible sort of thing. So if you're moving around, getting closer to the drone, you can hear it. It makes it a lot easier to find. If you're enjoying this video so far, you're also going to enjoy my free weekly newsletter where I give you the latest drone news, hot tips, and a little bit of a behind the scenes look into what's going on in my life. So you'll get a bit of a sneak peek into upcoming videos whilst also staying up to date with everything going on in the drone space. It's completely free to sign up, and I'll leave a link to that in the video description. And I've also been working on a cinematic FPV drone course, so if that's something that you'd be interested in, you can sign up to the waitlist down below, and if enough of you want it, I'll get it made up. Let's get back to the video. The next one is going to be obstacle avoidance. Now, I know when the Avata 2 first came out, there were a couple of channels on YouTube that said something about it having obstacle avoidance, but I'm going to clear things up for you now. The Avata 2 does not have any kind of obstacle avoidance. It does have two little cameras on the back here, and some people think that, oh, these look like obstacle avoidance cameras. They do look like obstacle avoidance cameras, but for obstacle avoidance, it's not going to do much on the back when this drone predominantly flies forward. But these guys here are actually visual positioning system cameras. Now, they're used to help the drone maintain a nice stable hover in different sort of environments. Now, I'll get onto a bit more detail about those a bit later on. But yeah, the Avata 2, no obstacle avoidance. If you're flying towards an object, you need to avoid it manually, otherwise you're going to crash into it and potentially damage the drone. Okay, so the next mistake that I see people making is flying indoors without enough ambient lighting. Now, if you're flying the Avata 2 indoors, it's definitely possible, but DJI drones like this rely heavily on GPS signal in order to maintain a stable position. Now, if you're inside, you're going to struggle to get a GPS fix. That's because the GPS signal comes from satellites which are in space, and when you're inside, the roof of the house and stuff can obviously block the signal coming from those satellites, and the drone therefore will struggle to get GPS fix. Now, even if you do manage to get a GPS lock inside, sometimes weird things can still happen, so don't rely on it. Now, the issue arises here because basically if you're inside and it's well lit, that's where these visual positioning sensors are going to come in, and they're basically going to be looking back behind the drone and having a look around at what's going on, and they're basically going to help the drone to keep a nice stable hover. Visual positioning, they visually look around to help the drone with its positioning. But because these are visual positioning sensors and they're using basically light-based cameras, they need to be able to see. If you're in a environment with poor ambient lighting, they can't see very well, and that's going to cause you some issues. It can actually cause the drone to drift around a bit, crash into things, and basically give you unpredictable behavior. So this actually only occurs if you're in normal or sports mode. If you're in manual mode, visual positioning is basically deactivated because you're flying completely manually. But if you're in normal or sport, the drone is going to be trying to basically maintain a stable hover when you don't control anything on the sticks. So that's why we need to make sure if we're using one of those stabilized modes indoors, we have enough lighting for the visual positioning system to work. If we don't, we're going to need to do things like turn on lights, open curtains, and if that's still not enough or it's not going to be able to fit what you're trying to record, then you can actually attach some lights to the bottom of the Avata 2, which will help light up the area sort of downwards and behind it, and that's going to help those visual positioning sensors just to be able to see what's going on, and that's going to help you to maintain a nice stable hover in a dimly lit indoor environment. So that's how that system works. You now know a bit more about that, so let's move on to the next point. The next one is going to be taking things too fast, too soon. Now the Avata 2 is an incredibly capable FPV drone, but it can quickly sort of get ahead of you if you're not ready for it, especially when we're talking about manual mode. Now when it comes to normal and sport mode, it's not too much of a big deal because when you just let go of the sticks, the drone will come to a stop. But in manual mode, things are going to keep fluidly moving, so you need to make sure that you just take things slow in the beginning and build up nice and steady until you're confident in how the drone maneuvers, how it responds, and what all the sticks do, and basically until you're at a nice, comfortable level of control. So if you try and just go full bore out the door straight away, you're going to have an accident. And if you're going really fast straight away, the chances are you're going to lose control. You're losing control at a higher speed, which increases your impact velocity, which increases the chance of damage, which is just not going to end well. So take things slow to begin with. You can always build up nice and easy, and it's just going to be a better way of doing things. Alrighty, so the next one is going to be using this drone for basically not its intended purpose. The Avata 2 is a Cinewhoop design drone, which is basically, a Cinewhoop is a drone that's designed to sort of fly slowly. It's designed to fly around people and close to more sensitive objects because it's got these propeller guards. And it's just basically designed to tootle around and get nice shots. Now, what it's not really designed to do is all-out hardcore freestyle. Now, I'll be the first to admit that the Avata 2 can actually rip a little bit once you get used to how it flies, and if you are kind of capable on the sticks, you can actually throw this guy around and do a few tricks with it. But it's not what the designers had in mind when they came up with this guy, so it's not optimized for that. So if you're trying to throw this guy into all sorts of wild maneuvers, you're linking things, you're doing juicy flicks and trippy spins and matties and all this crazy stuff, if you're good enough, you'll be able to do it. And if you sort of learn how the Avata 2 flies, you can fly around its little nuances. But for the most part, it wasn't designed as a freestyle drone. If you want to do hardcore freestyle, get yourself a 5-inch. You're going to enjoy that a hell of a lot more. Way more capable drones. But for what this guy was made for, it's very impressive at what it does. So use it for that intended purpose. If you want a freestyle drone, get a freestyle drone as well. Drones like to multiply, so I'm pretty sure, well, your wallet might not be so happy about it, but I can't imagine you'll have a frown on your face if you jump from flying this to flying a freestyle drone. Flying a freestyle drone? Did I even say that right? Okay, for the next one, we're going to quickly head to the beach. Okay, the next tip is going to be if you come to the beach to do some flying, one thing you want to make sure you're not doing is taking off and landing on the sand. When you take off and land on the sand, as the motors spool up, they blow sand up and it can go into the motors, into the gimbal, and it can basically just cause your drone damage when you don't really need it to. So what you want to do is either do a hand launch, which is what I tend to do most of the time. I have a complete video on how to hand launch the Avata 2 on my channel. Or if you don't want to hand launch, you can get yourself one of these when I eventually get it out of the bag. And this is a landing pad. Now you can put this down on the sand. The wind is not making things easy for me today. Put that guy on the sand, put your drone on top, and then take off and land from that landing pad instead. Now the rain is starting to fall, so I'm going to leave the beach, and that's another thing. You don't want to be flying this guy in heavy rainfall. It's not really waterproof. A bit of light rain you can kind of get away with. I've managed to get away with it a little bit, but general practice, don't fly in the rain. So let me get the bag and let's get to the next point. Please don't be any snakes. Yes, there we go. Okay, so this next one is going to be again related to manual mode, and it's going to be make sure that you've had some practice in a simulator before actually going out and flying manual mode in real life. Now, manual mode is a very different feeling compared to flying in a stabilized mode, which is why we always recommend that you spend a little bit of time in a simulator just to get to grips with what the sticks actually do and how the drone reacts in this, quite frankly, alien mode compared to anything that you'll have ever flown before. Now, basically, if you just pick whatever simulator you think looks cool or whatever's free, they're all going to do a pretty good enough job of getting you that muscle memory dialed in. The simulator that I've used previously is Velocidrone, but I would be more than open to trying different ones, and you shouldn't just restrict yourself to the one that I recommend. Find whatever one you think looks nice and has things that appeal to you, and just go with that one. Like 99% of them out there, the physics are good enough to get you the muscle memory, which is basically the main thing that we're trying to build. Once you have the muscle memory and you know how to control the drone properly, then you can move on to flying in real life. Now, I recommend flying in real life as soon as you can after you've left the simulator, because things do feel different. The simulator is good, but it's not 100%, and getting more hours in real life once you're comfortable in the simulator is definitely the way to go. But a sim is a really nice way of having a risk-free environment to practice flying your drone and just get used to manual mode. And when you are actually flying in manual mode, make sure you know where the pause button is on your controller. That is basically the oh crap button. When things go wrong, press the pause button, the drone is going to come to a stop, and you can have a breather, calm yourself down, let the blood pressure settle, and then flick it back into manual mode and carry on. So yeah, make sure you know where the pause button is. It's going to save you. It's well, it doesn't really save me, but I really like the feature because I can just pause it, have a minute, adjust my camera settings. It comes in a lot more handy than you might think. Okay, so the last thing that I see beginners struggling with, and I'm going to wrap this one up because my voice is starting to go, but the last thing I see people struggling with is the Find My Drone feature. They're just not familiar with it. I've seen countless YouTube videos of people crashing their Avata 2s and then just like wandering aimlessly trying to find it, where if they just use the Find My Drone feature, they would be able to really narrow down that search area. So before you head out to fly, make sure you're familiar with how Find My Drone works. Now, I do actually go through a much more detailed run through of how to use Find My Drone in another video, and I'm going to link that video right here so you can go and check that one out. And you're also going to get value from watching this video right here. So thank you so much for watching. Have a safe and enjoyable experience with your Avata 2, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.